lot more possible plot twists and storylines in mind that never got to the production stage. And while some of them might have added something entertaining to the show, others would have absolutely destroyed it. Curious how? Let's find out! Unfriending Chandler and Phoebe. Can you imagine Friends where Chandler and Phoebe are not main characters? Initially, the creators planned to have only 4 main friends, but after long discussions and considerations, they decided that focus should be shifted to all 6 characters rather than the selected few among them. The most attentive fans have definitely noticed that in the first season, Chandler was more of a supporting friend rather than a main one. He was almost always just a part of the group, but we never actually saw any of his singular storylines. And yes, you must already have figured out why. The showrunners were trying to see if he was worth becoming a lead. Phoebe was also expected to remain a supporting character, but the audience loved her too much. So once the creators realized that, it just confirmed that their decision to have all 6 friends was absolutely right. No, really. Just imagine how much the world would have missed out on without these legendary 2. But well, with such a tendency, we wouldn't have been surprised if more supporting actors became the leads on the show. And the creators had a couple of such storylines in mind. Adding more leads? First, let's take a look at Rachel and Gunther's story. Some may not know this, but these two are actually supposed to move in together. It's absolutely unclear how this would have worked out, but the creators wanted him to stay, and even considered morphing Gunther's big crush on Rachel into something more than a roommate relationship between the two. So basically, if Rachel and Gunther had moved in together, even for a short time, fans may have seen the two form a relationship, or maybe even seen a darker side to Gunther. Either way, although it makes sense why the show writers gave up on this idea, the storyline could still have been fascinating. Imagine Gunther leaving the status of supporting character and getting in between Rachel and Ross's story. Might have been pretty interesting, don't you think? There was another character that never actually appeared on the show but was supposed to become an important part of it. We're talking about Phoebe's roommate, Denise, the one she mentioned on occasion but we never got to meet. Denise was kind of a fictional character from Phoebe's imagination, whom she swept in every time she wanted to avoid things or create amusing stories. Do you believe Denise existed for real? Let us know in the comments. So the creators thought it would be really interesting to see someone as kooky as Denise joining the show as part of the main cast. What a surprise that would be, huh? What is more, Joey probably would have hit on her once she came to the show. Just think about it. Joey dating Denise might have given so much space to lots of hilarious scenes as well. What a shame we didn't get to see that. Who else would have been curious to see Joey in another committed relationship? I bet most of you said yes, but it seems like no matter how hard the show creators tried, they never succeeded in finding him a perfect fit. Joey's love life hurts the show. Yes, Joey was the only one single at the end of the story, so I bet you must have imagined him getting together with multiple ladies throughout these years. And so did the showrunners. However, none of the possible options were good enough to end up on the show. And most people believe that if Joey had ended up with someone, it would literally destroy the series. So here are the top 3 failing love storylines that were prepared for this guy. The worst choice, Rachel and Joey. As fans always say, thankfully, the Rachel and Joey storyline came to an end just as fast and unexpectedly as it began. Both actors themselves disliked the story, never wanted it to happen, and in the end, made no attempts to hide it. Initially, this Rach-Joey love story was planned to last much longer, and it's scary to imagine where it could have taken us. First, Jennifer Aniston insisted that Rachel's attraction to Joey had to be simply physical, and made it clear that they were not in love. She later said that Friends was always about Ross and Rachel, and described the relationship with Joey as simply friends with benefits. Executive producer Kevin S. Bright revealed how opposite LeBlanc was to this plot twist for his character. In the beginning, Matt LeBlanc did not want to do that story. He was very firmly against it, saying that he's Ross's friend, and that the type of friend that Joey is would never go and take someone else's girlfriend. Yet the showrunners still chose to include this storyline. So I guess we'll just have to come to terms with the fact that these two were together, even if just for a short period of time. However, there are lots of fans who believe that Joey and Rachel could have, and should have, ended up together. Bright also insists that even though it was a risk, it was worth it, as LeBlanc went on to earn an Emmy nomination. He described Matt's performance as so wrenching that it almost distracted from the ickiness of the story itself. Still, the majority of Friends audiences was not distracted and are happy that these two never went all the way. This basically would have destroyed Rachel's eventual reconciliation with Ross, which would be pretty unfortunate since the entire series led to the fact that they were always meant for each other. First choice endgame? Joey and Monica. Imagine if Monica and Chandler never got together. I'm sorry to break this to those who always rooted for their relationship, but this is exactly what was supposed to happen initially. That's right, Monica and Chandler were not the couple that the showrunners were looking to bring together. Joey and Monica were supposed to become a permanent couple. The show's co-creator Marta Kaufman shared that, in fact, they were originally going to be the main love interest of the show. She added, "They just seem the most sexual of the characters."
We look great together.
We really do.
Okay.
Wow, imagine what our kids would look like.
You know, we don't have to imagine.
Everyone saw, though, how bad that would have been after the characters had been on air for a while, and the plan was abandoned. In the process of watching other couples developing love storylines and fans' reactions to them, the showrunners decided to give up on pairing Joey and Monica. So they never even had a ship tease on the show. And the only instance we saw of anything nearly happening was in the flashback episode, where Joey moved in and Monica had a minor crush on him. She invited him in for lemonade, and we all know what happened inside.
Oh my God, what the hell are you doing?
You said you want to come in for some lemonade?
So?
However, that scene was placed just for laughs and never went any further. Phoebe and Joey's silent rendezvous. Ever wondered why Joey and Phoebe never hooked up? The answer is simple. They wanted to. The actors themselves suggested adding this plot twist to the script, but the showrunners never accepted it. I guess Matt and Lisa just finally said aloud what everyone had been waiting for. But the throwaway storyline they came up with was legit crazy. It was supposed to inform the audience that Phoebe and Joey had been secretly getting together on a casual basis for a number of years. Just imagine finding out about those secret rendezvous after all these years. Most fans would have never accepted it and think it would be a total disaster. To answer further questions, why? It's pretty simple. Those occasional hookups would have permanently shattered the image of the perfect friendship between Joey and Phoebe. Of all the characters on the show, their relationship was the purest. Fans say that Phoebe and Joey served as a perfect example of true existing friendship between a man and woman. Neither of them wanted to turn their bond into a romantic or physical one. And it proves once again that this storyline was absolutely wrong from the very beginning. No wonder the idea was cut down with almost no hesitation. What's more, in canon, Phoebe and Joey were only the best of friends and nothing else. And every time they had somewhat of a romantic moment, it always turned out to be weird. So, I guess we're happy the production left the friendship of these two alone. Do you think any of those three options could have worked out well for the series? However, as you must assume, Joey was not the only one to get paired weirdly throughout the show. Moving on to some additional cringy storylines that the showrunners had in mind. Destroying friends. Since Ross and Rachel turned out to be the main love trope throughout most seasons of Friends, the show would have been absolutely ruined without them. However, the creators kept coming up with a lot of weird ideas to keep them apart. The first surprising but destructive storyline was in the minds of the writers for a long time. They wanted Chandler to end up with Rachel. Yes, you heard me right. Rachel and Chandler. Fans absolutely despised the idea, but the showrunners still tried pretty hard to include it. In the end, I guess we're lucky it never got the green light in a real storyline. However, the creators still tried to experiment with this pairing in the one with the flashback episode and also in the fantasy episode, but the audience didn't give an encouraging response to that. And negative comments resulted in them shelving the idea for good. Next, a no less cringy storyline that could have killed Ross and Rachel's love story. Ross and Phoebe involved in a romantic endeavor. The production team tried this idea out in a flashback episode as well, but again didn't get a very encouraging response from the fans. So they ditched this idea too. The audience considered it was absolutely for the best that Ross and Phoebe didn't get together, as they have such contrasting personalities and views. So their love story would eventually ended up like Rachel and Joey's, who later realized they were better off as friends. Last but not least was the storyline that fans later called an absolute worst-case scenario. The writers considered making Elizabeth, Ross's young girlfriend, pregnant. Just involving Ross with his young student Elizabeth was already a kinky storyline that triggered a lot of jokes and sometimes even hate. Just imagine if they ended up adding in Elizabeth's pregnancy at the end of the season. Poor Ross. He was so baffled and freaked out when Rachel broke the news of her pregnancy. No idea what kind of stress he would have suffered in the case of Elizabeth. But wait, not so fast. Even though everyone hated just the possibility of this storyline ever happening, the writers had a really interesting plot twist for this one. The idea was to make everyone believe Ross and Elizabeth were having a child soon, but at the end of the season, they wanted to reveal that she was carrying someone else's kid. However, the idea was discarded given the fact that Rachel was going to be pregnant with Emma soon after that. If you enjoyed this, go watch more Friends videos on our channel. Thanks for watching.